This episode of Boss Rush After Dark is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Boss Rush After Dark, the alternative podcast show for the Boss Rush Network. It's your host, it's your boy, LeRon Dawkins, back in the house, XS803. You know, that guy? Yeah, I'm the man. Yeah. Hey, what's up? I'm back here with my co-host tonight, and as always, it's wonderful and great to see the wonderful Ms. Stephanie Klimov.
Hello! Paxil's here and totally not looking like she's trapped in prison. Paxil, say hi.
Paxil looks like she's ready to slap somebody.
Yes. Happy to be here.
all right. The man, the myth, the Corey Deering. What's up?
I am also happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me to your program.
That sounds like lies. I don't believe it. Just like half of Twitter doesn't believe UFOs exist. I don't believe you right now.
That's okay. I'm a UFO, everybody. An ugly fat object.
All right, he said it, not me. he said it, not me. All right, I just want to go on the record for that, right? Okay. All right, and also the exuberant Pat Klein. Hey, man. How are you liking it with us here at After Dark? Because like you're the newbie, but you've been sticking it with us now. What, this is your fourth episode now? Like, wait, actually, no, it's your fourth episode with me, because like when I was on vacation and on hiatus and stuff, like you were doing this already. But how's it going, dude?
I like having conversations. You know, I'm generally not a sociable person, so you know, sometimes you just need to let it all out. Just let it all air out like dirty laundry sometimes. So, aliens, huh?
Yeah, aliens.
You know, they exist, but we still can't see evidence of it. But he's willing to discuss it behind closed doors.
Yeah, let's see. Today in the news, it's Wednesday, July 26th, and just in case you might have missed some things, Mitch McConnell had a stroke today while talking to the United States.
About an alien.
Like a congressional hearing happened, and we discovered the military knew the existence of aliens and UFOs. And,
shocker!
But they can't tell us about that yet because that's still classified.
Yeah, the series finale for Secret Invasion happened today, and rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's happened this week, July the 26th of 2023 on the Wednesday.
Don't forget the biggest news of all this week.
Oh, the Zelda drop?
That's right.
Don't say no more though. We want our listeners to just go crazy thinking like a brand new Zelda game came out.
Yeah, brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Factory sealed.
For the Switch. Brand new Zelda game for the Switch.
All right, well, I know we have some topics, but really fast, I want to ask you guys a question.
Uh-oh.
When it comes to friends, family, and people you associate with, do you ever wind up having those moments where it's like, I'm too fucking old for this shit?
Every day.
Because
tells me so.
Because yeah, like if for people who follow me on Twitter, y'all might have saw Twitter, X, whatever the fuck they're calling it. I don't know anymore. For you guys that follow me,
you got a Zeet on X, guys.
Oh no!
Zeet, it's official.
That does not sound good. That does not sound good.
I like eat better.
That sounds like something that happens after certain activities have taken place.
That's skeet, not eat or Zeet.
Okay.
I don't know what's coming out of you, LeRon.
All right. So yeah, but anyone that saw my social media, like they saw that was like that I made a post that said bad news always seems to catch me in the middle of the night. So I wake up this morning to a post of some messy ass shit going on with some friends, and I'm like, y'all haven't learned a fucking thing since high school. Like, and I'm fucking 48 years old, so just imagine. Y'all haven't learned a thing from high school. Y'all still doing this dumb shit, and leave me the fuck alone.
Right.
Yeah. So most of my day, I've been running around literally like I'm too old for this shit. I'm too old for this shit.
That was Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon, but he was only like 40 in that movie.
Yeah,
I am 40, and yes, that is exactly how life goes.
Oh man, Danny Glover's going to be on the thumbnail for this episode. I don't care what I don't even care what the topic is. Are you
going to use
too old for this shit?
Are you going to use a screen grab from Lethal Weapon, or are you going to use a screen grab from Predator 2?
No, I'm using Lethal Weapon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, why can't people keep their shit clean? You know, like what is up with that? You know,
shit's naturally dirty, LeRon. I don't know if you know.
You're right. Okay, so actually, to use a better euphemism, why can't people just keep their business clean? You know,
why can't they keep their buttholes clean?
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
You're literally only required to do that once a day. Like the thing, yeah. Like it's wild.
Once a day?
Like I said, required. I didn't say it was.
Why can't we just use bidets?
I'm learning a lot about you today, LeRon, that I don't know if I wanted to know.
You mean
also, I have friends that poop like twice a day too.
You didn't learn in that 1v1 we had back in After Dark?
I don't remember. There's a lot of things said and done that, you know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on another episode.
but basically, okay, so I'm not gonna divulge any details and stuff like that, but man, like when you're like 20 plus years out of high school, why aren't people growing the fuck up? You know? You know, and then the audacity to like drag people down that have been disassociating themselves with it, like, because that's kind of where I'm at. I've been disassociated with it because I've had to walk away from not so much like just excommunicate these friends or whatnot, but I've been like, you know what, y'all aren't doing anything to enrich my adult life, so like I'll see you when I see you and stuff like that, you know, and then you know, like you wind up getting dragged into the quagmire of some shit that was like, you should have been past this. What's up, Pat?
Oh no, I'm just pointing to a stalking kitty.
Oh, okay, yeah, because there's a chair. There's an animated chair in the background.
I'm either haunted or I have a very excited cat right now.
Yeah. So Corey, you have. Actually, I don't know why I asked you first, because I know you always have I'm too old for this shit. You probably have it like 9 times a day, don't you?
Dude, I just had one before we hit record, okay, with somebody that we know, and it's infuriating, and I'm just like too old for this shit. I will tell you guys off air, but I was infuriated until, you know, we hit record, and then I had to, you know, do one of these things. So
for the people out there in audio podcast land that were like, what's those noises? Like, that was Corey slapping himself about the face a few times.
Was it my face, LeRon? The audio people never know.
Hey, I'm trying to keep it somewhat PG. I mean, you know, this show easily falls off the rails, you know.
Corey was letting off some steam in more than one way.
Some zeets. I was letting off some zeets.
Some zeets.
Oh man,
Pat, how about you? How often do you have the "I'm too old for this shit" moment?
Usually it's physical. I'm too old.
You know what? I can't fault you on that one, because it was today, actually. I had a long day of work and stuff like that, and I had a situation where I had to keep going up and down the stairs in my house because you know, you have those moments where you go downstairs, you get something and you forget, and then you have to come back down, and you know, you forget again, and you have to come. So yeah, so like on like the fourth trip, I was like, man, I'm about sick of this shit. So like I stood in the kitchen and just like surveyed like everything that I could have possibly forgotten. And then 15 minutes later, after I got back upstairs in my room, I realized I left something else downstairs.
Oh no.
That's when you just say I'm too old for this shit and just leave it down there.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's I don't know. It's like my body just keeps falling apart, and it's a sign that you're just too old. You know, like I'm still having issues right now with my leg. Like it's getting better, but I still have issues like walking on stairs or like on like what is it on surfaces that aren't flat. I have issues on. In fact, yesterday I ended up falling again because
Oh
I
crap.
was a little too eager and like put my foot down and didn't really place a little too much weight on it, and yeah, I fell down a step.
Mm.
So I'm getting old, and I'm too old for steps.
Mm. Yeah, steps. They'll get you. They'll get you.
I feel like I kind of have a combination of both. Physical, I'm too old for this. Which I feel like I actually shouldn't be saying because a lot of it has to do with like keeping up with my kid. I'm like, I'm still in my 30s, but I can't be crawling through little children tunnels on a playground and my knees hurt and fucking I don't know. I get gassed and like when you're younger too, the vast weather differences don't bother you as much. Like when I walk outside and it's really hot out, I'm like no, I'm not. I just can't because I don't know. I just feel like when you're younger, you just yeah, I'll just sweat. It's fine. Now I'm like no, I want to stay air conditioned. But as far as dealing with people, like various scenarios, right? Like it ranges from um maybe friends that either are single or don't have kids, so like the way they live their lifestyle, which is not a judgment thing, it's just a different lifestyle where they're like, oh yeah, let's go to the bar and let's they because I have some really like crazy friends in that aspect, and I'm like, I cannot do that, I'm too old for that shit, like go right ahead.
I
The
gotta be
other
in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And then lastly, this is more family because family drama, right? And it's funny because the drama that I see within my family, I know every family's different, is actually with regards to people that are older than me. So I think it's really ironic when I say to myself, I'm too old for this shit, when I'm trying to deal with the drama of people older than me. Um, there's just so much family drama. Everyone's in their own business and talking about each other behind their back and then talking to me about the drama. And I don't want to deal with that. It's like I'm too old for all this teenage theatrical BS. I'm like, aren't you 60 or 70 or however that person is? Like, why? Why you got the energy for that?
Right.
It all starts with the little blue pill.
Oh no.
Oh, you know what else I'm too old for is I don't want to know family members taking the little blue pill.
Yeah, because oh, you know what? I'm totally with you on that one. Because when I went home to see my mom recently, like she told me more than I need to know. It was the craziest conversation because basically I always sometimes I make well number one I don't take any erectile dysfunction like stuff I but every now and then I joke with my boyfriend and I'm like hey if I have an erection that lasts longer than 4 hours I'm not the one who's going to need medical attention.
Whoa.
From my perspective, it's not like, you know what? When you get older, whether it's like you have psychological or physical things that contribute to that performance thing, like especially me being a pharmacist, like I would like to normalize that. Like I don't want men to feel emasculated if they have to rely on that little blue pill. It's more like who Like, I don't want to know if, for example, I'm not saying this is true, I'm just making an example. Like, if your parent is using it, like, you don't want to know that, right? Like, I just don't think you want to know that.
I don't want to know
Well,
any of
you
it.
know, actually, you know what? You as a woman, you probably don't need to know that, but me as a man, I would need to know that. Just like I need to know, like when, like my closest like male relatives are going to go bald, like when it hit them. What else? Well, I mean, like you eventually find out. You eventually find out all your family's health problems, like blood pressure,
Well,
diabetes, and all that stuff.
yes, that, but
Yeah.
also, like, this is another made up scenario. Like, what if it's a family member where they do not get along with their spouse and you know they're not doing it but they're still feeling it, so then you're now wondering what they're using it for, and then you're like, why am I thinking about wondering who they're using it for? It's not a good thought.
Hmm.
Not speaking from personal experience at all.
Huh.
Yeah,
Do you know how much sex goes on in a nursing home?
a lot apparently.
Yeah, like they have like it's funny because apparently they have the biggest instances of
STDs.
STD
Mm-hmm.
transmission. Yeah, STD transmission, and it's wild because you would think it would be more prevalent at college.
Well, as my mom says, sorry, just as my mom says, she goes, a guy could be halfway in the casket and his dick will still get hard. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom,
Wow.
why'd you say that to me?
Well, if you can't close the lid, we now know why.
You're propping that casket open with something.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I'm not too old for those kind of jokes, though.
Nope. Dirty
No.
jokes are always in.
All right, well, all that to say, like we're way too old for this shit.
No. I'm definitely, I am okay staying out of any sort of, like, I say I classify it as like teenage high school type drama, and I feel like there are certain people that I believe they seem to thrive off of the drama. So, like, I don't think they age out of it. It's just something that either they need the attention or they find it stimulating, so they have no problem engaging in that. I don't know. Um,
I worked with in my prior job, one of the people I worked with, she was probably in her mid 60s, but she still acted like she was 18 years old. Like, she, it was all about like the fancy or the sexy bikinis and the like hottest styles and just making sure everything looked pretty and that she wasn't getting fat. And it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's
Sounds like you're
just
talking about my aunt.
maybe she is your aunt. I don't know. Is your
That's
aunt named Jane?
nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, that was one where I'm like, you probably are too old for this shit.
mhm.
I have a joke for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Bring it.
Uh, when is it totally acceptable for your dad to hit you all the time?
To hit you?
All the
Yeah, like
time?
yeah, hit you. Yeah, hit you. Yeah, hit you all the time.
Um this is a trick question. This feels like a trick question. I feel like the
Hit your
answer is
bank account. I don't know.
420.
never.
It's totally acceptable for your dad to hit you all the time if he's a blackjack dealer.
Yeah, love it. I
I
knew it.
hate
I was
you.
like, gotta be not the real literal meaning.
I was thinking
That-
hit.
right? Yeah,
Uh,
you're thinking like yeah, smack him around. Yeah, you're thinking that, right?
No, no, the hit.
Oh, that hit. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So
Okay,
when
yeah.
is it okay for your dad to hit you all the time at 420?
420. Yeah. Oh, got it.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
you said 420. I got it just now. Okay.
Yeah. uh, did I ever tell you that my one time when I was talking to my mom, she asked if I ever did marijuana, and I'm like, no, I've never done it before. And she's like, you should probably try it. It might calm you down. And she's
Wow.
like, your dad and I used to do it all the time. I'm like, what?
Hey, at least your mom's keeping it real.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is a woman who doesn't even like drink alcohol, and like she's telling me to smoke weed.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I still haven't done it yet. I'm so plain.
It's one of those things where the society makes you feel uncool for doing it, but it is what it is. You enjoy it or you don't enjoy it. Like, I am so lame that if I do want to partake just either A, out of curiosity or for a good reason, it's like with alcohol these days, it just puts me right to fucking sleep. I'm like, okay, well, I don't need this.
Mm.
It is what it is.
I think for me, it's the fear of losing control.
Control.
Yeah, like I don't drink because I don't like how I feel under its influence, and
Mhm.
since I've never done marijuana, I'm like worried like if I ever do it, like how's that going to interact with me? Am I just going to completely lose it? Am I just going to start crying and
Hey,
wondering
some
like
some people do kind of freak out, so you're not, I don't know. And just in my humblest opinion, I don't think you're really missing out. For the people that partake and enjoy, they enjoy. No problem. But for those that don't want to, then they don't need to. No.
I'm also heavy though, so I doubt it would have that much of an effect on me if I think of it that way.
It's weird because like I typically try to stay away from psychotropics and the mind altering drugs, but basically everything alters your mind. Everything,
Mhm.
whether you're popping prescription pills, like indiscriminately, for your high, or whether you're taking the shit that's designed to mess with your mind, and stuff like that. Um, uh, yeah. So like, it's like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
Part of me also wonders, what does color sound like?
What is seeing sound and hearing colors? uh, all right, we ready? We ready to do a topic?
Oh, we're not talking about drugs?
Oh, you want to talk about drugs?
Not
You,
really.
you you want to?
No.
This will probably get our show pulled off of off of the networks.
No, no,
Hugs,
They
let's
not
have
can't they
drugs.
can't arrest you for talking about your experiences. They have to catch you in the act.
Hugs, not drugs. There
Hugs
you
are
go.
better than drugs. Yay.
Well, it
Hmm.
depends on who you're getting a hug from, but yeah.
True. No, no, this was like a good pre-topic. So yeah, let's go pick one. What we got on the docket?
All right. So,
Well, we got
Um,
two here, so
let's go with the funny one first.
uh,
So what are some things that have been said to you or around you, like so things that you've heard being said that just immediately you knew were offensive?
um,
everything that comes out of my mom's mouth.
It's funny because it's true.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll lead with this one. So as you guys know, but like what probably most of our listeners don't know is that for work I typically attend 4 business meetings a week, like the first thing in the morning. So usually the first hour of my morning for work is like I'm in a meeting. Um and uh and so we're in these networking meetings and stuff, and I kid you not, one day, I'm just listening to some people interact with each other, and this guy, he's about my age. I know that for sure because he and I associate with each other. He's about my age, and there's this young girl. She's in there. She's in her mid 20s or whatnot, right? And she's one of those, and she's one of those just like uh she's one of those women that like she looks good and everything, but she's not one of those women that like are all about their looks and stuff. So like she's not being super made up and all that stuff. And so I'm, and like everyone's just talking and stuff, and I hear him ask her. He's like, "Girl, what's up with your hands?" Just do yourself a favor, get some French tips. And I was like, oh my fucking god. I was like,
What?
Mm.
I did not hear this man just say this.
Whoa, dude. That's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think nothing really came out of it because I feel I think she was a little I think she was way cooler than the situation needed to be because nothing really came up about it, no complaints or issues and things like that, but I heard it and I was like, "Oh my god, I could hear a fucking pin drop right now."
Yeah, because that kind of reminds me. I mean, obviously, this was less. I don't know, and I'm pretty sure I told this story before at some point, but it was one of the more offensive things that was said directly to me. I can also share what was one of the more offensive things that someone said to my mom, which isn't as funny. But when I was fresh out of pharmacy school and working as a pharmacist at a large retail pharmacy, could probably rule out many. Um, I was finally given a store. Like I stopped floating, which means you cover various stores. I finally got my
Yeah.
own store. I was part of the staff. One guy shows up, like a probably middle-aged white male, came to the consultation booth and asked to speak to the pharmacist because he had a question. So I meander. I have my white coat on and my name tag saying pharmacist. So I say, "Hi, sir. How can I help you?" He goes, yeah, I have a question for the pharmacist. I said, I am the pharmacist. And he bursts
Mm,
out laughing.
mm,
So I guess that's not really saying anything offensive, but he actually burst out into a belly laughter and says, no, 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 I want to speak to the male pharmacist. I'm like, okay, well, he's not here. And he goes, oh, well, I guess you can help me. There's something wrong with my foot. And I'm like, okay. So I proceed to go out and I help him. So that was totally, I was totally offended, but I was so
mm.
green at my job. I was like, don't say anything. Actually, if anything, it was more shock. I tend to not reply to super offensive or shocking things just because I don't know, it takes me a while to let stuff like that sink in. Um, for my mom, she had told me this when she was working at my dad's chiropractic office. So she was the office manager. And so, for those that don't know by now, my mom is of Chinese descent, like born in Taiwan, first gen immigrant. Is that what is first gen immigrant, the one that comes over, or born the first one born in the country?
First one born.
Hmm.
Okay, so I would be first gen then.
Yeah.
Or well, she immigrated to America anyway, but she spoke English. Whatever. Okay, this guy comes in and he audibly sniffs the air, like in a very obvious fashion, and goes, "I smell Chinese food." And my mom made a point to tell me that she did not bring any Chinese food to work that day to eat for lunch.
Your mom fell for it,
Hmm.
but then again, she wouldn't get the euphemism. Yeah, what a fuckhead.
Yeah. I was like, Mom, did you say anything? She goes, No, at that age and at that time, I was still like kind of unsure how to act in this country. I'm like, okay. Because if I were alive and born at the time, I would rip his motherfucking face off. But
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You bring new meaning to everybody's kung fu
Mm.
fighting.
I love that song,
They
by the
were
way.
fast as lightning. Yeah. Now, as you can tell, I usually am the one that says the offensive things, but completely innocently. Usually, I don't know. I try to make light of things, and I honestly don't mean it like in a malicious way, but I do have a tendency of saying things that like shit. I should not have just said that.
Well, like, how do you guys handle offensive things? Because Pat, when you say something like that, I kind of think of, all right, how do I react when someone says something that would be considered offensive or insensitive? And I think that there's a wide range of people. I think the majority flip out and get really upset immediately. I think for me, I kind of try to look into the context of things because I'm like, maybe this is for example, how a person tries to find humor or lightness in a serious situation. And maybe they're trying to express it a particular way, and maybe it's just not translating appropriately. Um, I think for me, I will truly take offense if I can detect maliciousness, like that asswipe of a guy who wanted to only speak to a male pharmacist. I'm pretty sure he wasn't just trying to be funny and make light of the
Oh
situation.
yeah, he was not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Well, for me, okay, so if it's been directed at me, like I judge the level of like how derogatory it is when it's being leveled at me. If it's something that I absolutely need to check you on, like yeah, I'm going to check you, and I don't care. I don't care if I'm at work and you get checked, or if I'm just out in public and you get checked. But there's other times where it's like, you know what, I'm not even going to dignify your ass of a response, you know. And usually I'll do the thing where you give them a look and then you just walk away. And that usually conveys all the message as well.
mhm.
Because sometimes people are just fucking stupid.
Yeah, either stupid or for some weird reason they're looking for attention in the weirdest, most fucked up way, but they do.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't typically get offended too much. I actually had to think quite a bit. Like, what was it that like immediately like throws me off? And I don't. I think is when I'm not getting the credit that I'm due.
Mm.
Or at least like the last time I think I felt really offended was during a work review. And my boss, like, I thought I was doing amazing work. I was taking on like hard assignments and like going above and beyond. And then my boss just gives me a scathing review and just says, that like she doesn't think I'm capable of like doing my job. And I'm like, what, what I don't know. I just like everything she said after that. I just did not want to listen to, and I got very defensive, and I
Mm-hmm.
just like I don't know that's what offends me. But I think
Well, that's a really
I don't
good
know.
point. Like, you can be offended by a lack of word or lack of action.
Like, or just like what was she thinking? Like, how is it possible that everyone else sees that I was doing a good job, and like she was the only one that's like, no, like I don't know what you're doing. It's like, did you ask around? Like that. Long story short, I ended up looking for another job immediately after that, and left that company within a month. So it's yeah, I don't know. I'm basically a white blonde male, so there's not a lot that people can throw at me that that makes it offensive.
Is it possible, LeRon, to slightly blend the other topic with this one, but not full fledged? Because is there
Oh yeah.
something to be said about, and you know what, I'm pretty sure it's
Being
very
yeah,
subjective,
being
sensitive.
sensitive and being
Hmm.
sensitive in these times as well as like rolling with the punches. Yeah.
Yeah, because in a sense it is related because on one hand, there are a lot of things that are labeled as offensive that are very legitimate and concerning, but at the same time, on other hands, certain reactions, I'm kind of like, can you just fucking move along? I don't know.
Corey, you're awfully quiet.
I was just waiting till everybody was done. I was kind of just listening.
Okay,
Hmm.
go ahead.
Uh, I mean, as somebody who thinks they're sensitive to a lot of things, I don't know, maybe people think different, but um, I always think like when somebody says something that like I'm like in trouble or like somebody's mad at me or something like every time. Um, but I think to go back to I was kind of how do I want to say that. Well, I mean, it's not bad really, but like in college I was dating this girl for maybe like a month. We were dating, and she was black, and she broke up with me because all of her friends made fun of her for dating a white guy, and she broke up with me because I was white. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there it is. Whatever, it's fine. But that kind of, I don't know, kind of hurt my feelings, but I don't know, whatever.
That's very legitimate. I know it's probably challenging. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, Corey. Like challenging because, like, being of Caucasian descent, it's like, am I allowed to complain about this? You know?
Yeah, but also like 2005 was a very different time than 2023, right? So, I mean, I feel like I don't know. I feel like people were way less offended back then, or maybe they were just afraid to say they were offended back then, or I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot more people being like, and I think like a lot of people are of the right mind of saying we need to do better and be better to people who are different, right? But there are also the loud, annoying people who are doing it for attention, you know? And I think that's what makes everybody kind of overly sensitive to everything right now, like, and it's, I don't know.
That's a good point. Maybe some people are overly sensitive because they're trying to do the whole virtue signaling thing, which is a new pet peeve of mine. Just unnecessary.
And then you have people calling out people for something they did like 10, 15, even 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And it's like, man, it was a different time. Like, you probably weren't even alive, and like, and I get like it was wrong back then too, right? Like gay jokes and black jokes and all these other kinds of offensive things, right? And I'm not saying it was right then either, because it wasn't, I mean,
but people can change.
Yeah. People, well, some people can change.
Yes, not all.
Some people realize that those things were wrong, right? And, I mean, I'm not exactly the person who didn't say any of those things back then, I mean, it was just how it was, and it was wrong. But, it's like, I think people learn, and we've grown as people. And like, I mean, if you would have told me 20 years ago that some of my best friends would be black, LGBTQ, and, a woman, like, oh my gosh, I mean, that 15-year-old me would have laughed at you, right? Like, because I was a terrible kid. Also, I grew up in a community who hated all those things. But at the end of the day, like, here we are. I think I'm hoping that I changed at least a little bit,
No, you're still a terrible person.
I know.
Jump in the basket with the rest of the deplorables.
I am.
I'm just fucking with you, man. Don't get all sensitive on me.
No, I'm gonna go tie cement blocks to my feet and jump in the river. You'll never see me again. Don't worry, LeRon. I'll upload all the assets so you can edit all this stuff.
Oh, I think I'm gonna put a cinder block on my ankles and jump in with you.
Anyways, who's having fun?
I feel like drowning would be a horrible way to go. No.
Yeah, but once it's over, it's over. Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't.
I think drowning is a horrible way to go. That's like my second least way to die.
I think it's. You said it's the second one, because I think it's the first for me.
Well, I wouldn't want to be burned alive either.
Yeah.
For me, it's.
I don't ever think about being burnt alive. I don't ever think about that.
I feel like being burned alive would be faster and it would hurt, but then you die pretty fast. Like, for me, it is being buried alive would be my absolute biggest, like, fear.
Buried alive? No, that means I can finally rest. shit!
Rest in
And
a
it's
cramp
dark too. It's dark. Yeah,
in a
this is
cramped
what I
up
want.
box.
And slowly
No.
suffocating? No.
What if you have to pee? You're just gonna pee on yourself.
No,
Really?
I thought you just meant like they just the ground just covers you up. I didn't know you were talking about being in a box and all this shit
I
like
mean,
Kill
even
Bill.
the ground covering you up. Like if you wake up in that and you, you can't get out. I mean, that's heavy.
Hmm.
It's terrifying, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then drowning would be my second.
Hmm.
All right, those three are just all terrible, very terrible ways to die. Anyway,
Yeah.
you
Nope.
know what? I thought about another thing that actually was very offensive to me, and Corey, you reminded me of that because of your
Oh,
story.
thanks.
No, because of your story. No, again about my heritage. It's kind of funny. Like for me, it was a kind of a race thing. So as a Habsy, um, I do find that there are some challenges unique to that, where culturally, because I grew up with a lot of Asian shit, I didn't really, I wouldn't say not get along, but I didn't click with the just regular white people at school because I liked things that they just didn't understand. And then they would do the this thing back in the 90s where they pull their eyelids back, and I was didn't know how to react to that. I'm like, okay. But also, I wasn't Asian enough for the Asian community, and I didn't think I was going to run into that problem until college. Because obviously, when you go to college, you are more than likely to be in a much more diverse environment than your hometown. At least for me, because I went to college in a city. And that particular college actually had a very high percentage of Asians, and I was so excited. I'm like, "Yay!" They get the whole "take your shoes off in your house." They love, blah blah blah, and they regularly eat with chopsticks. Like they'll be able to get me in the stuff that I like. So I joined the. There was colleges have many groups. There was like the ABC, the American Born Chinese group. I was so excited to join, and I can't begin to describe how uncomfortably quiet the room got when I walked in. Um, and they kind of questioned like, "Why are you here?" And basically, I got the "You're not really Chinese because you're half." And then my one of my roommates who is Korean decided to tell me to my face that I am whitewash and therefore I'm not really Chinese. I'm not a Chinese person. I'm a white person. I'm like, well, I'm both. I'm white and Asian. She goes, no, you're whitewash. You're not a real Asian. And to me, I found that extremely hurtful.
Be like, what's the definition of a real Asian?
Yeah. So I was actually very hurt by that. Not because I hated my white identity. Like I'm both. Like I am what I am. I am a mutt and I'm proud of it. But it just kind of hurt that growing up I never fit in with the white culture. I know that sounds a really weird thing for me to say, but like traditional Caucasian, I don't know, American culture. And when I tried to fit in with my Asian side, I wasn't Asian looking enough to fit in. So I'm like, great, I'm just gonna sit by myself at the lunch table like a loser.
Yeah. I fear that's actually a lot of issues with biracial kids. Is like even the ones that are born with a white parent and a black parent, like it's like where is the child gonna fit in? Like they're too dark skinned to feel like they're white, but at the same time they're too integrated in white culture to feel like they're black
Yeah,
or
I have spoken with a biracial person, got close with them, and they were white and had a white parent and a black parent, and yeah, they didn't feel totally assimilated to the white, so to speak. And then we try to hang out with the African American group, like they actually were told like they weren't dark enough, which I thought was interesting, um,
Mm-hmm.
and very sad to hear that. So I'm like,
hmm
there's varying shades of dark, but I mean, I can't speak to it, but that's my knowledge. There's various shades. So I don't know. That made me sad.
Yeah. Um. Well, I was with a girl who was half black, half white. Well, she was like kind of, I don't know, quarter black, I guess.
Halle Berry.
Oh God, I wish.
Zendaya.
Jeez, stop. I God, you got me all thinking stuff now. Okay. And like people would like stare at us when we would go out, like during the day, and it was like kind of it was the first time I really kind of felt like, oh, we are being judged because of what we're doing, you know. And this was in like 2008, so
Wow.
it was like, well, I mean, I live in a very like there's a lot of people who talk like this around here, big trucks with Confederate flags and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's
It's
Oh,
a
I
pretty
bet.
red
Oh,
country.
I bet your hometown is loving that song "Tried in a Small Town" right now.
what's that?
Oh,
Never mind. Keep talking about what you're talking about. Never mind. Never mind.
well, you know what, Laurent? That's a good
I
sign.
am too.
Yeah.
I am too old for this shit right now.
I missed something. If it's
No,
about music, I'm not tuned in at all.
well, either
It's
way,
about
Laurent.
music.
Yeah, it's a good sign that Corey doesn't know about that song. So
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And you know what? I like Corey being I like Corey being the ignorant, lovable person he is. So I'm going to leave it at that. And that is
ignorant in a good
offensive.
way.
That is offensive.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. That is offensive. I can't believe I did that.
That's fine.
I love you, Corey.
Yeah, I love me too. We would like when we would go out, like we would go
Go
out,
choke.
and it was
Go
like,
choke.
oh my gosh, and like, oh my gosh, and her parents were like, I mean, her parents had it worse because like
Mm.
they were like white and black in like the 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
one of those things. So like, but like, yeah, I mean, when we would go out, we got to dinner and people like, we would look and people were like staring at us and like, you knew they were talking about us and you knew they were like being they were trying not to be obvious, but you know how when you try not to be obvious, you're extra obvious.
Mhm.
And so like, it was just one of those things. And we we made it work. It was like, I mean, I think I told this story before, but like there were people in my family who didn't even acknowledge her. So,
That's
um,
wow.
Mm.
yeah, it was, I mean, and sometimes we fought about it, but in like, how are we going to do this if people won't accept this, and, you know, and then it ended the way it ended. And then, now
Well,
we're
see,
here.
that's my ignorance. Like I'm so naive of thinking like, how can this still happen in 2008? But clearly it can in some parts of the world.
Yeah, I heard my fair share of the N word slung towards her, and it was even very uncomfortable for me, and
Man.
not even like for her, like,
Wow.
yeah,
As a black man, that is crazy to think that you've heard the N word more than I have, in its derogatory form.
yeah,
Hmm.
it was an interesting dynamic, but I don't know. I would have gone through it all for that. So,
Aw.
Yeah, because
but
I think in my lifetime that word's only been hurled at me like twice.
yeah, well, I mean, she was little, and we live in an area that's like very, I mean, even some of the places that we went were like very anti, white or pro white, I guess, anti everything else. Um, so I mean, even when I worked at the car dealership, words like that were being slung around. So you know, um, and nobody cared. It was just like a thing. So
Dude.
man, I mean, to be fair, I worked with people who thought January 6th looked fun. So, you know.
Mm.
I wonder how fun it looks from the inside of a prison cell.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I currently have a fear of being on the other side, being offensive. When I was growing up, I never was afraid I was being offensive or offending anyone, because I always had the mindset, as long as I have good intentions, how could I possibly be offensive? Well, apparently you can still be offensive no matter what.
Oh
And
yeah.
here's one where I was not called out for being offensive, but when I was corrected in a kind way, I kind of overreacted, and I was like almost in tears, like apologizing in fear of being offensive. And that was a misuse of a pronoun, which is like such a hot button topic these days. And it wasn't like, ill intentioned. I was taking a pole class, and I was, good acquaintances with one of the females that took class there, and we had a showcase, and she brought her partner, a biological female. And a female sounding name. So I just blurted out the pronoun, she, her, and the acquaintance like, oh, it's they go by they them, and she did not appear upset. And I obviously corrected myself and used they them moving forward. But I'm like, yep, see, this is how it's going to be. I'm just going to be fucking offending everyone, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Am I really going to go to every single person and be like, hold on, before I talk to you, I need to know your pronouns? Because I don't know if I can. I just, I don't know. And like, obviously, as you could tell from my story, the majority of it is in my head, but like I can see it now, because she probably knows I mean well, and she knows that by correcting myself
Yeah.
immediately, all's
Mhm.
kosher. But heaven forbid I do that with someone who knows me less or is more sensitive, then I'm going to get my face fucking ripped off, and I'll be looked at as the worst person in the world. So I have a fear of being offensive in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's where tolerance starts coming into play. Is like you can tiptoe over all the eggshells you want, but sometimes if people make mistakes, and if they want to still rip your face off, that's the fault now lies on them, because they
Yeah,
obviously didn't consider the fact that it was unintentional, even if it might have been offensive. Like,
I know. It's
I don't know.
it's tough to navigate, because I clearly have no problem if someone wants to be addressed a certain way. Hey, that's how you want it. I'm fine with that. But I'm like, my pea-sized brain can only like try and figure out and understand so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Mm.
I
What,
guess
LeRon? I feel like you're holding back.
No, actually, no. Because I also had that wrestling with pronouns and stuff like that. Like honestly, like my whole thing is like I'll do my best, but I feel sometimes like having like the fight or flight syndrome where you're trying to figure out like what to address somebody by. Like if I'm gonna misgender them, I'd rather misgender them at the very beginning of a conversation, than
Hmm.
having known them for like weeks or months, and, and then and misgendered them all along. So that's my whole thing, and I feel like that's the one piece of advice I can give to anyone that has that discomfort, for that, because like once you learn it, like it's legitimately a mistake, at that point, But if you don't learn it, it's a mistake. It's a mistake that if no one's correcting you on, like there's a bigger issue at hand there, and it's not on you at that point. Um, yeah. Now, if you learn their pronouns and you still decide to do whatever the fuck you want, which is, I have to explain to people. I'm like with the whole pronoun thing. I'm like, look. I'm like treat treat a person's pronouns the same way you would treat their name. If you find out someone's name is Timothy, you're not going to call them Daniel or David.
Or Aaron. Hey,
Yeah,
Aaron,
yeah.
where are you?
It's just fucking common sense. If you understand that it's disrespectful to call someone something that's not their name, then you should also understand it's disrespectful to call someone not what they want to be called as far as their gender goes.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Corey, what were you gonna say?
uh let me rewind. Oh, to what you were saying, Stephanie, I think the only thing we can do is do our best. I mean, we didn't grow up in an era where there were other pronouns, right? So I mean, it's not embedded in our brain yet. So, I mean, like, it's going to, and I hope this doesn't sound insensitive to anybody, but it's going to take, people of our age range to kind of get used to that vernacular, right? Like it's a learning thing. And like, just like, people learning that, gay people exist or trans people exist. There's people who are wanting different pronouns, and we, have to adapt and learn. And, and if we say he or she when they want to be they, or, something else, then it's, it's a learning thing. And the thing is like, people need to be patient in learning these things. And like, yeah, generations below us will grow up with that, and it will be part of their terminologies and vernacular and vocabulary. But to us, it's not yet, and still something we're getting used to. I don't know hardly anybody who goes by they them, right? So like, it's hard to adjust when that's not like a repetitious thing,
Yeah, that's a
too.
good point. Because I'm not using this as an excuse, but speaking of ingrained in your mind, like all the years of schooling, I still associate they them as a strictly plural use. But again, like I'm not going to use that as that's why I'm only going to use that. No, I'm like, if someone says I go by they them, I will do that. But like, it's like my brain is like doing this like Rubik's cube twist, like it's not a plural anymore. So I'm working on that part. Working on it.
Yeah.
Always working on it.
Always working. So, but I think that's it for that, I guess. I don't know.
I thought that was good,
hope,
healthy conversation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling online, and apparently Skittles is debuting a new flavor, a new limited edition flavor right now.
Who
is
what?
Skittles, the candy company.
Oh, I thought you said
flavor?
skills. I'm like, what is skills? Is this something else that I'm not hip on?
It's not
You
zombie,
ready?
is it?
You ready for the flavor? You
Like
ready for the flavor?
UFO flavor.
Mustard.
Gross.
What?
Nope.
Skittles is debuting a limited edition mustard flavor.
Who hates themselves?
You know what? They need to do what the Harry Potter does with jelly beans. It comes with like 2 different yellows, one of them being lemon, the other one being mustard.
There's other things that taste like yellow too. So like, let's not stop with mustard.
Pea flavored it is.
Oh my gosh.
All right, everyone, we're gonna. That's our show for the night.
Help. Please send help.
As always, we'd like to thank you for listening and hanging out with us for this episode of Boss Rush After Dark. Do yourself a favor, whether you're watching us on the YouTube side or you're listening to us on the audio side, check the show notes. You'll get all the information for how you can get in contact with us, as well as information for the Boss Rush Network. Consider being a patron for our shows. Like, you get some really nifty and neat bonuses for being it. And yeah, that's going to do it for us tonight. So thanks a lot. As always, it was a pleasure. On behalf of all my co-hosts here, you take care of yourselves. Have a good night.
Bye. We love you.
Goodbye.
Sorry if I offended you.
Yes. Sorry.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.